In this episode of the Stamina Lab podcast, I talked to Lauren Duffell. We had a great conversation. She's a sleep coach who has a nutrition coaching background, which is an interesting combination. And we talked about sleep confidence and this concept of that sleep is not something you do, that it's something that you create, and creating these conditions for sleep. She gave a lot of practical advice on how to work on your sleep routine, your nervous system, and the fact that, you know what, even sleep experts have trouble sleeping sometimes, and that's okay. So I would really like you to enjoy this session as much as I did, and here we go. I wrote something that I read. It was, sleep is not something that you do, it is something that you create. And I really, really like that sentence. Could you tell me a little bit more about that? Tell us all a little bit more about that.
Yeah, and thanks for noticing. You never know if someone reads the content on your website or not. Yeah, I started speaking that way about sleep to my clients because one thing, especially with someone who struggles to fall asleep, is that they have a way that they try to fall asleep. And the more that we try to sleep, the more that our body resists sleep because we're activating ourselves in the trying. So we really surrender into sleep and we allow sleep more than we try to sleep or than we do sleeping. And to do that, we really have to create a strong circadian rhythm and have an understanding of how what we do during the day, even in the morning, affects our sleep at night. So if we have a lifestyle that creates a strong circadian rhythm, then we're more likely to have predictable sleep and to be able to surrender into it more easily. There's some other pieces. If somebody's experiencing insomnia, there can be stressors directed at sleep that we want to work with so that we can allow the sleep to come without fear. But yeah, that's in a nutshell what I mean by creating sleep and not trying or not doing sleep.
Yeah, not doing. It's a non-doing almost. It's just the surrender that you said.
Yeah, exactly.
And it's also about making the conditions so that it's an emergent state, would you say?
Yes. And creating the conditions that sleep needs is part of, or knowing what conditions your sleep needs is part of learning to create the sleep that you need. And it's not something that we typically learn in school. And if your parents didn't teach you how to create good sleep, then it's probably not something you learned in your regular life until you became personally interested in it and started seeking out that information through podcasts like this one or books or hiring a sleep coach to get that guidance that you need to create and allow the sleep that you want and that you need really to function and be the best version of yourself.
And you said about, some people get to the point where hiring a sleep coach, and obviously that's what you are as a sleep coach. But how do you define what it means to be a sleep coach?
As a coach, I sometimes step out of the specific role of coach into educators, so we can define what sleep is in terms of sleep science and what it needs and what's happening during sleep and why that's important, and then in the realm of coaching, defining why that's important to that person and what good sleep looks like to that person, how they want to feel during the day, what are their motivations, and then really taking it step by step in creating better habits around sleep. And also better self-talk around sleep, especially that's a big part of the process when somebody has challenges with falling asleep or staying asleep. We want there to be really positive talk, because naturally we get mad at sleep when, especially over a long period of time, if it's been challenging, then we get a little bit mad at it, which sleep is an interesting part of life because it's the one part of our health that we can't put a motivational kind of pressure on to improve it. Like we can put that tough love pressure on ourselves to get to the gym or to buy the things at the grocery store that will be best for you this week. But we can't do that with sleep. We can't pressure ourselves into sleeping better or into falling asleep sooner. So that's where the way that we talk to ourselves about our sleep is super important. And I think in general, the whole tough love thing, there's a fine line there between not being compassionate with yourself and pushing yourself too far sometimes for some people. So when we learn how to speak to ourselves lovingly about sleep, sometimes that can translate into other parts of our lives and help regulate the nervous system overall, which again helps create better sleep.
Let's move on and let's talk about, you mentioned that you like nutrition or exercise where you can, actually make sleep happen. And when you said nutrition, it reminded me of that. I know you trained as a nutritionist first, correct? And that's how this got into the world of sleep coaching in part, correct?
Yeah, exactly. There were just a lot of questions about sleep when I was working as a nutritionist, and I felt like um, on the internet and in the city where I was working, there were a lot of nutritionists, and as much as I love nutrition, I love cooking. Food is a huge, enormous passion of mine, but sleep is also a huge passion of mine, and there was no one else talking about sleep at the time. So I thought, okay, this is kind of fun. People actually want to talk about sleep and want to improve their sleep. And the clinic that I was working at, they're very encouraging of new ideas if they think that it'll be helpful for our clients. So they said, why don't you start doing sleep lifestyle consultations? And so we just started doing that as an experiment to see if anyone would be interested in it. And I just kept it really simple, like get outside, get some exercise, get up at the same time in the morning, like kept it very simple. And it went really well. Really motivated me to keep going in that area because I also just loved it. I love talking about sleep and learning more about it. And then when the pandemic hit, I moved my work online and I decided to just go all sleep. And not drop the nutrition because nutrition is part of sleep,
Yeah, I was going to
but
say
I
they're
wanted to
interconnected.
get away from, yeah. If I want to get away from meal plans and, and more like nutrition heavy topics and just focus more on sleep, circadian health.
And the connection there is circadian health. That you're there you're when you eat has an impact on your sleep.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, the timing of our nutrition, the quality of our nutrition, the amount of inflammation or the types of nutrients that help us control our inflammation that we get from our food are impactful to sleep. There's also our basic nutrients impact our ability to get a good sleep and our ability to have good energy during the day. They're the same. So vitamin D, we know, is good for our immune system and our energy. B12, iron, those are important for our energy during the day. And that's normally how we think of those nutrients, but they're also really important for sleep. So too, in the same thing with magnesium. We need magnesium to create ATP, which is our most basic form of energy, but we also need magnesium to have a good sleep and produce melatonin. So all of those energy giving nutrients are really sleep promoting as well.
So that probably was a natural transition from doing the nutrition into the sleep coaching because you can see the connections there for you.
Yeah. I did get some extra education in the area of sleep. So I did a sleep science coaching certification. And then I also went and did a course for cognitive behavioral therapy for insomnia. Even though I don't work as a therapist, just a lot of that science is good to know, because there are certain contraindications. Like if somebody has sleep apnea, you don't want to shorten the amount of time that they're spending in bed, because it's not going to help them, for example. And the science of CBTI is very similar to the science of coaching. You're helping people change their behavior and change the way that they think about sleep and they interact with sleep. So a lot of that transferred into coaching, and just helped me be a better sleep coach.
So those nutrients they talk about, specifically magnesium and whatnot, they obviously you want to get them from nutrition, but do you recommend getting them from is it supplements too as well?
Sometimes I do. If somebody's low, either if they've had blood work done and they know that they're low in certain nutrients, you can get a good quality supplement that will help you just get replenished more quickly. Especially in the case of large deficiencies, that can be helpful just to feel better more quickly. But if you are going to take a supplement, I would recommend that it's a good quality supplement. There are a lot of poor quality supplements out there that aren't really going to help. And that might not be exactly as it says on the label. So it's important to get something that's been third-party tested. And then also looking at your nutrition and where you can get more of the nutrients that we need every day from the foods, so that we don't have to rely on supplements. They tend to be more expensive as well, compared to just getting good foods. Yeah, it depends on the lifestyle and where someone's starting. I always coach the person and start where they are, because that's the way to move forward, is one step at a time.
Yeah, and for the other thing in supplements, a lot of people I talk to is about taking melatonin as their supplement because it's natural, and so they take melatonin every night and thinking that it's okay. And how do you coach someone who is taking melatonin on a regular basis?
That's a good question. So yeah, I hear people say those exact words. Melatonin is natural. It is natural when you're creating it in your own body. It's less natural when we're taking it as a supplement. And melatonin is a supplement that can vary wildly in what is in the supplement versus what it says on the label. So if you are using melatonin, I would get it from a professional brand. Professional brands are very research based. They third party test every single batch of ingredients so that what you're buying is what it is. Whereas something that's cheaper off the shelf, they will random batch test and they won't test every single batch of ingredients. So you don't know exactly what it is. And with melatonin, there can also be serotonin in the supplement accidentally, because our bodies produce melatonin from serotonin. So yeah, you could be getting something that's not what you think it is. Melatonin with my clients, especially if they're traveling and they want to use that to help them readjust, I don't see any issues doing that. You get a good quality supplement and you use it to help you readjust. If someone's using it as a sleep aid every single day and we start working in a coaching relationship, I would say keep doing your melatonin until we have worked on your circadian rhythm and your sleep health to the point where you have more confidence in your ability to get good sleep. Then let's try taking less melatonin or taking one night off of melatonin to see what happens. But with any supplements, even though supplements don't have an addictive factor to them, when it comes to sleep, there can be a belief that I need this to have a good sleep. And if you take that away, it can create, like if you go cold turkey, take it away, it can create a large amount of stress, which can then make it harder to sleep. So when making changes to supplements, if somebody has a fear that I might not sleep without this, then I always try to do it in the lowest stress way possible. Like pick one night this week that you have like the lowest stress night, like a Saturday night where you have nothing to do on Sunday morning, and just try having either less or not taking it that night and see what happens. And we'll take it from there.
Yeah,
So
that's
yeah,
interesting because then the fact,
sleep's this little gentle baby.
the gentle baby, yes, that's a great way to imagine and think about it. The sleep for this the supplement though, it's like you said, it's costly to do that, and especially if you need to get the high quality supplement in order to be sure you're getting the right piece there. That gets expensive. And while you said it's not addictive, it is behaviorally something that physically addictive. It's behaviorally addictive, I guess I would say, for lack of a better term.
Yeah, people have a belief that they need it, and that belief can create extra stress. The other thing I wanted to say about melatonin is that I have had clients say, "Oh, I had my melatonin tested and my melatonin was low." And then I say, "Okay, well, does your body have what it needs in the evening to make melatonin? Are you getting away from bright blue quality light? Are you getting enough protein in your diet?" Um, some people I've worked with really didn't have enough protein in their diet. And many people I work with, like it's our normal, North American or normal modern lifestyle to have lights on after sundown. So it can be that just changing the lighting and then taking your melatonin test again. Like if somebody's motivated by testing and seeing their numbers, take away the amount of evening lighting that you're having now, block blue light, dim the lighting, maybe even like enjoy some candlelight, and when you can, when it's practical, and then see what your melatonin is like then, because it's not that, oh, there's just something wrong with you. Your body's not making any melatonin. There must be something wrong with you. So now you have to get it from a supplement. I see it as your body doesn't have either the building blocks or the conditions that it needs to create its melatonin when it should be creating it. And that, as you know, Glenn, from us both being circadian nerds, that actually starts with your morning routine.
Yeah.
You can do things in the morning to help yourself create more melatonin at night. So yeah, if someone says to me, my melatonin was measured really low, I say, okay, let's look at your lifestyle and see what we can do there first. And then really, if ultimately the person doesn't get their melatonin levels up, and they feel like they sleep better with the melatonin and they really want to continue taking it, then I would say let's get away with the lowest dose possible and the best quality supplement possible. But most people, if they're sleeping well without it, then they just let it go.
Yeah, and then and usually, so if you take it off too fast, then that creates an issue with sleep confidence, which is a term I also saw you write about too. And so I thought that'd be a little interesting to dive into sleep confidence. How would you describe sleep confidence?
Yeah. That's really someone who has sleep confidence believes that they can fall asleep reliably, that they can get the sleep that they need, that they can fall asleep within a reasonable amount of time. And someone with high sleep confidence most likely doesn't have stress about sleep. We tend to get stress about our sleep when our confidence level goes down. So when we have a few nights of poor sleep, then there might start being a belief of like, oh, what's wrong with me? Can I not sleep anymore? And that obviously adds stress to bedtime. It adds stress if you wake up in the middle of the night. It might add stress to your nervous system all day long. Anytime you hear something about sleep, or someone asks you, how did you sleep? Or someone asks you about your energy levels or anything like that, it can be an added stressor. So one of the most important things for me working with my clients is that I give them the confidence that they need to create the sleep that they want. And when they do sometimes have a bad night of sleep, they have the confidence to get their sleep back on track, so that one night of bad sleep isn't this negative spiral into many more nights of bad sleep. It's just one night of undesirable sleep. I don't even like saying bad sleep because
Yeah.
even 1 minute of sleep is good sleep. So, yeah, short sleep or sleep that was less than you were hoping for, and just seeing it for what it is and not letting it get on a hamster wheel.
Yeah. That's
And
really,
then
I
we
think
do
it's
that
really,
with confidence to get it back on track.
yeah, I think it's really important to highlight that, one night of sleep is not going to have a huge impact on your life and your longevity and all the things that they say that sleep can do for you if you're not getting enough of it. One night of sleep is not going to have that impact, um, and to be kind to yourself around that. You have self love as your
Exactly.
part of your program.
Yeah, exactly. And awareness around, we kind of need those bad nights of sleep sometimes, because then you value getting good sleep more. So when you've had a couple bad nights, or if you've had, like I had 5 years of insomnia, so now I value sleep very highly. um, but having those bad nights is a reminder. Oh yeah, that's why I don't always, stay up till 3 o'clock with my friends, or that's why I don't have, chocolate and Coke and watch a horror movie before bed, or whatever.
Yeah.
Whatever happened. Or if you don't know what happened and you just had a weird night, then it can be a learning. Okay, what happened? Was I a little extra stressed this week? Was there, did I have a change of environment? Um, yeah. I moved into a new house about 3 months ago. And for the first 3 weeks, I had weird sleep, like not as good as normal, like a couple nights of the sleep that I'd like to have, and then a night of shorter sleep. And I started thinking, is there mold in this house? Like, what is it? But I think it was just my nervous system adjusting to the new space, and now it's all good now that I've been here a little bit longer. Um, but I would say that I think that one of my superpowers as a sleep coach is that I am a sensitive sleeper. So I know how it feels. And as much as I am a much less sensitive sleeper than I was when I had insomnia, I still actually have to be mindful of my sleep. It's not like I just don't think about it and have perfect sleep every single night. And you and I have talked about this. Like,
Yeah.
okay, we're both working in the realm of health and wellness and coaching and sleep and performance. And sometimes we're not going to have this perfect sleep, and that's life. Like, that's
Yeah.
okay. And it's actually good ammo for conversations with clients and for relating to them when they've had a tough night. Yeah, because we all have to manage our sleep. Even Matt Walker and, the most popular sleep scientist, Andrew Huberman. Andrew Huberman will tell you in all his podcasts about sleep that he wakes up every night around 3 o'clock. And so none of us have perfect sleep all the time. And that's how life is.
Yeah. I think that's a
We
really
just get
important
the
message.
best sleep that we can.
Yeah, I think it's a really important message that even sleep experts and the top sleep scientists have trouble sleeping on occasion, and that's something that to take stock in, because that it just shows, again, it's an experiment, and what can you learn from that? Like I find that story. What did you change differently when you moved into the house to try to adjust? You like, okay, this is different. What did you like? Did you focus more on one thing or another to try to figure out the different change you're going to make?
Uh, One thing is that the heater in my room makes little clicky noises, so I had to get that fixed. It's making noise all night long. Um, and then just getting, I don't know, like taming the new house, getting used to the new house. It had also been painted right before I got here, so I think there was the first couple nights there was a strong paint smell, so I had to open the windows. The smell was bothering me, definitely. Yeah, just as time went, it just got more natural. I got used to the house. My nervous system got used to the noises and the smells and the clicky heater, and
So a lot of environmental
yeah. But
factors.
when I for Yeah. I still, like the heater, it was fixed, but it's still a little bit noisy. So some nights, if I'm feeling like, if I think about that heater before I go to bed, I might turn on my white noise, or I might wear earplugs still, just because heater's not totally fixed. But it hasn't been disrupting my sleep now the way that it was when I first got here. So I'm
So
getting
there's
used to it, the clicky heater.
some self-talk, and again and then the environmental factors that you are having to adjust a little bit with the new house. Is that correct?
Yeah. And yes. And reminding your nervous system, because our nervous systems, um, and the subconscious mind, especially when you're sleeping, wants to be familiar with what's happening around you. Subconscious mind's not asleep. It's very awake when our conscious mind is asleep. And if it's not familiar with the environment, then it's going to stay extra alert. So some animals can sleep with half their brain when they're in an unfamiliar environment. And humans do that to some degree. Like we don't sleep as deeply. There will be a part of the mind that's more alert, just making sure that the sounds and smells and the way the air is moving and all of these things that the body is noticing, that all of those things are safe. And you can actually talk to your brain before you go to bed, especially in a new place when you're traveling, saying, hey, we're really safe here. There's going to be some noises and maybe the temperature won't be perfect. Maybe the bedding isn't what we're used to, but I'm really safe here. Especially for someone who tends to have an active, like an easily agitated nervous system, then it's good to have that kind of specific self-talk for being in a new place. Because the first couple nights in a new place, the mind will always be a little bit more alert. But if you can just bring the nervous system down a little notch, like when there is a noise, you might feel in your body like a reaction, even if there's not a thought yet that goes with it at all. The body might just react to a sound or react to like a draft or something like that. And you just tell it, hey, we're really safe. It's okay.
Yeah,
And that
I
can just
find
help
that.
deactivate.
Yeah, I find I do that too, when it's really in a hotel situation or something where, like, okay, the door is locked, my bedroom's locked. They have to have a key. Someone has to have the key to get in the elevator to get up here. There's lots of different mechanisms that have to happen before that anything would happen. That I'm very safe. I'm very safe, and it helps.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, even if you already know in your mind that you're safe, just talk to that little animal part in your brain. Tell it all of those things that you said, like all the rational things. There's this many locked doors and this, this much space between me and anyone else, and any other safety features that you want to remind yourself of. And sometimes that could just be really helpful in a new place. You can also buffer, like you can bring familiar things with you to trick that little part of your brain. I sometimes get clients to bring their own pillowcase or their own pillow. If they're very sensitive people, even your own sheets, you can do that. It can be helpful. And then bringing noises that are familiar to you, like if you use a white noise app or a machine at home, you can bring that with you. If you use lavender before bed at home, bring that with you. Bring all the familiar things to your senses with you to a new place, and then you've tricked yourself a little bit into not thinking that it's such a new place.
Yeah, just, and again, it's making the conditions for sleep to emerge, and the
Yeah.
things that are familiar with you help with that conditioning.
Yeah, exactly.
And
Yeah.
so you said that you had insomnia for 5 years, and that obviously was a big challenge for you to overcome. So how's your sleep now?
Yeah. Oh, I still feel like sleep now is a miracle. When you wake up in the morning and you're like, wow, I slept over 8 hours. I just closed my eyes and it was easy. I didn't freak out about it. It's still a miracle, I think. Like when I think about it, I appreciate it immensely. It's been about 10 years since I recovered from my insomnia, almost 10 years. And I still have a huge appreciation for the ease of it compared to before. The like practical details of how my sleep is now, I sleep around 8 hours. I'd say 7.5 to 8.5, depending on the day. And I pretty much always wake up around 7:30, and I give myself like an hour window on the weekend. I might go over that by a half an hour, maybe, for my falling asleep time. Try to keep that pretty regular. And yeah, just keep all activating things out of my bedroom. My bedroom is my super peaceful space where nothing else happens other than sleep time. So that's how I don't know, I keep it that way. No watching things in bed or computer in my bedroom at all. Back when my insomnia started, my partner had his office in our bedroom, and there was a printer and a scanner and like a screen and a laptop, and we each had 2 cell phones because our jobs, like we had work cell phones and our personal cell phones. So there was so many little dings and beeps and lights, and his printer used to randomly just go like, oh
my.
Anyway, disaster. So now I'm like, no, my bedroom is my super zen space. And I just keep it as cozy and as inviting as possible. And I know we've talked a bit about that in the realm of bedtime procrastination.
Yeah.
Making bedtime as enjoyable as possible. And that's how I do it, by making my bedroom as inviting and peaceful for me as possible.
Yeah. And you have mentioned something else that would help with bedtime procrastination. Obviously, bringing the reward sooner, which is to make that beautiful cocoon like environment, helps with the procrastination because you're looking forward to it, and I can do it right now. And because the benefit of sleep is 8 hours away when you feel good, so it's hard to feel the benefit of wanting to move right now on this. The other thing that you said too was it's a miracle there. And do you take a moment for the gratitude of a good night's sleep?
Yeah, it's sometimes I notice it intentionally in the morning, like, oh, wow, I had a good sleep and it was effortless compared to how it used to be. I used to have a lot of stress around sleep. And yeah, it's mostly in the morning when I'm waking up and realizing, oh man, that was so good. I appreciate that so much.
Yeah.
So grateful that I don't have to experience what I experienced before. Yeah, it's the
Yeah.
mornings where I'm most grateful for it.
Yeah, I really like to, not only in the mornings when I wake up for that, but just throughout the day when the days when I slept well, just to be like, I'm so grateful, like how much energy I have, and how much I'm able to focus and regulate my nervous
Yeah.
system to some degree, to be able to be calm when something pops up that could usually trigger me if I wasn't fully rested.
Yeah. And looking fully rested.
Yeah.
I wear less makeup than I did in my 20s, like way less makeup than I did in my 20s. And I think I look better now than I did then.
That,
Because, yeah, I felt disheveled and I looked disheveled, even though, you're like beautiful, you're
yeah.
young, you're 20 something, you know, but I looked tired, I looked like I had not slept well. And I hear that from my clients a lot. Like, this is important to me because I look bad when I don't get a good sleep. And it's true, there is science to it. And so I don't discount that as something shallow or vain. We want
No.
to look in the mirror and feel like this is a good version of myself today. And that doesn't just reflect what's on the outside, it does reflect what's on the inside. So yeah, I take that to heart when clients say that. Like, all right,
It look,
let's get you some good sleep for your fresh face, and use that as a motivation for doing the things that you might not really want to do in the moment at night when our motivation is most, and it's our motivation's at its lowest. And maybe there are extra little things that we want to do, but is it worth it? Do you want to feel disheveled tomorrow morning? If you could avoid that by just giving yourself space to unwind and space to get to bed on time. Yeah, one of the biggest challenges with most of my clients, especially the business owners, like people who are really
Driven.
motivated during their day, is actually prioritizing sleep and prioritizing the unwind. Because I'll start working with people and they're working until like 10 minutes before they go to sleep, just enough time to go to the washroom, wash their face, grab a glass of water, and now it's sleep time. And it's hard to change that if you're used to packing your day like that. That's a big process. So again, it's one step at a time, starting where you're at.
Well, so what is your go-to routine for the wind down, and how do you include nervous system management in your process?
Ooh, are you asking me about myself, my routine in my own life, or what I start with as a basic recommendation for
Yeah,
someone?
basic recommendation I think would be the best piece, and yeah, and a little bit about how you do it too.
Sure. So, basic recommendation would be consistent wake time. If somebody's wake times are wildly different, like sometimes I'll start working with people and their sleep and wake times vary by like 6 hours throughout a week, then I'll just say, okay, let's start step one, having a shorter amount of variation. And then you can whittle that down until about an hour of variation is pretty easy for people to stick to most of the time. Um, for myself, I have a pretty consistent wake time, like pretty much on the dot consistent, just because my circadian rhythm likes doing that now. And then I'll give myself about an hour ish wiggle room for sleep time. Um, and then in the morning, something to activate your serotonin. So some good light exposure and some amount of movement. It doesn't have to be exercise or workout in the morning. For some people, they want to do that and they're able to do it. And they enjoy doing it. And either that can be a short one every day, or it can be some days like a Monday, Wednesday, Friday kind of thing. And for other people, that'll just be a simple walk or even stretching, something just to get them moving in the morning. For myself, I like having a balanced breakfast. I have vegetables and some kind of protein every morning, in various forms. I've recognized that intermittent fasting and skipping breakfast does not at all work for my
Okay.
body. And then looking into that further, it really, like, most of the recommendations around that are better for men's bodies and are not so tailored to
Hmm.
female bodies. So yeah, our hormones, our adrenal glands are more they're more taxed just because of our female hormones. So we have to make sure that we're giving them fuel throughout the day. So I'll have breakfast every morning, and then that's pretty much it. Hydration for me. For me, showering in the morning. If I don't shower in the morning, I'm not my full self for the rest of the day. That's my coffee. I don't do any caffeine in the morning or ever. I'm a sensitive caffeine lady. Um, for my clients, I'll just get them to do what feels best for them in the morning, but there does have to be some amount of light and ideally some amount of movement, because that just helps you raise your core temperature, it helps to get your blood flowing, it'll give you energy for the rest of your day. And that can look different for different people, and even the timing of that can be different for different people. And then nourishing yourself in some way. And if you are doing fasting, that might just be water. If you're doing a more intense workout, maybe something simple before you do a workout, like a little bit of fruit, and then eating after that. So yeah, it varies a lot. But for me, it's really the timing, the light, some movement, shower, and food. Those are my pieces in the morning. And then that movement and light in the morning gives ammo for good quality sleep later on that day. So in the evening, I try to eat by 7:30 because I'm normally asleep around 11:30. But if I can fit that in earlier, then I do, just depending on schedule with family obligations. Sometimes it's harder to do, but 7:30 I can be consistent with, and sometimes earlier, which gives me that window of time for digestion. And then blocking blue light, especially if I'm on any devices, and turning off all extra lights around the house. That's something that when I first like when I was searching for how to fix my sleep, I didn't learn anything about lighting in that time. I learned about it later. And so I did overcome my insomnia without doing anything with the lighting in my home, without awareness around that. But I did notice, if I go into the kitchen and all the lights are on, I would squint like, ugh, this light is gross. And now that I've been doing blue blocking for a couple of years now I am like, I have a lot of awareness around how sensitive I am to light at nighttime. And if I'm at someone else's house and they have all these lights on, I'm even to the point where I'll say, do you mind if I turn this light off? Like, I'm not going to go adjust all the lights in their house, but sometimes there's one really bright, like super white light. And then I'll just ask if they mind if I turn that off. And most people are like, oh no, I just had it on because people were over. Normally I have it off. I'm like, okay, let's just turn it off.
Well, it also opens a conversation to have, actually, a little bit, right?
Yeah, exactly. And I do it in a polite way. And if, nobody's like, I don't do it all the time. I only do it, if I know someone to a certain degree, and the light's like just killing my eyes. But yeah, I'm pretty comfortable now. I'd say the insomnia version of me had a pretty high level of discomfort with asking for what I need, or asking for what I want. And that's something that I had to grow out of and just shed the fear of asking for what I want. And that was a big part of my nervous system and like recovering from insomnia. My insomnia was really just very overly activated nervous system all the time, not just from fear of not sleeping, but like fear of everything.
Yeah.
Fear of most things to some degree, but I was really high functioning. I managed large conferences. I worked at one of the biggest hotels in the city. I was very social. Like, I was high functioning, but there was like an engine of fear of things running in the background that I didn't have full awareness of. So
I think that's important because
and now when I notice.
Yeah, go ahead.
Oh, I was just going to add that now when I notice that something makes me scared, I'm like, let's do it then. That makes you nervous. We should do it. So now I push it.
Well, that's interesting to note, and I think important is that, we could all be functioning fine, and there's another level of performance that we can get out of our lives, and enjoyment and fulfillment that we can get out of our lives by trying to follow some of these protocols to get better sleep.
Definitely, yeah. I think that's a lifelong learning relationship with yourself, is that nervous system management. Because even in the last couple of months, I ended up traveling to house sit while my mom was on a trip. And when I was there, I didn't have my normal things that I would do at home because it was in another city. So I didn't have, my gym and my yoga class and the things that I do for my family who live close to me, and any of my normal things. So I just said, well, I'm just going to do nothing for a week. I just gave myself permission to do nothing. And after doing nothing for a week, I thought I had a huge awareness, like, whoa, I'm way more calm doing nothing for a week. So I let myself do nothing for a month, like nothing extra. I still got in walks, but I didn't put on pressure myself for them to be a certain length of time, or, for it to be, if I missed one day, okay, I'm going to just take the pressure off myself completely for a month and see what happens. And I really, really regrouped on my nervous system, and I'm feeling calmer now than I think maybe I ever have. That's maybe a big statement, but yeah. And then coming back home, I was like, okay, book my 3 CrossFits a week and my 2 yogas and do these things for the family 3 days a week. And then I came back and was like, nah, I think I'm going to do 1 CrossFit a week, 2 yogas and a hike. Yeah. And just take the pressure off of myself. And I knew that like doing nothing strategy, that wasn't my long-term strategy. That was just like, okay, my body feels like it's actually healing right now in this pause. So I'm going to do it until I feel a little bit more healed. And then I'm going to go back. So I didn't realize that I had healing to do until I took away all the things and let myself relax more deeply. So it's ongoing learning with ourselves all the time.
Yeah, I think that's wonderful, and a great place for us to wrap up about the ongoing learning. I would just ask you though, if someone wants to reach out to you and contact you, what would you recommend? How they would best connect with you?
Yeah, you can find me on Instagram. It's Lauren.Duffell. I'm assuming you'll put the spelling in the show notes. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. And same thing on LinkedIn, Lauren Duffell. And my website is Coaching for Insomniacs. And you can send me a message through there or email me directly, lauren@coachingforinsomniacs.com. I end up exploring the idea of changing my website, because when I started working in the realm of sleep, it was just with people who have insomnia. But now over the last couple of years, I work with so many different types of clients for sleep, and some people who don't have any sleeping challenges at all. They just want an accountability person, and they want to be reminded of the science and staying up to date with what's new. So yeah, so that might change, but not for now.
Yeah. I mean, obviously we could geek out on sleep for hours on end, but I really appreciate you taking the time. And thank you for being on the show.
Thank you so much for having me, Glenn. I appreciate it.
And thank you everyone for listening. Until next time, be well. Welcome to the newest episode of Stamina Lab, hosted by me, Glen Lubert. If you're ready to upgrade your performance, achieve mental clarity, and improve your well-being, well, then you're in the right place. You'll hear the stories of professionals who have taken on big challenges while managing their energy and longevity through the ups and downs of pursuing their goals. Enjoy this episode, then head to the show notes to learn more so you can take the next steps to build the habits and systems you need to achieve your dreams.